Uyo, uko, kuno, apo, pano. Mama wanna get it, mama wanna get it nice.
Right, 19 August 2021, and I'm joined by my guest, Mr. Jason Midzi from the Zimbabwe People's Action Party. How are you, sir?
I'm very fine, Mr. Gambakwe. It has been a long time since we talked.
Yes, fantastic. And I'm so happy to see you. I've been wanting to talk to you for a very, very long time. Your party has changed its name. Can you tell us what happened?
Okay, it's a change that was unavoidable, Mr. Gambakwe, because when we formed the party in 2019, it was called the Zimbabwe People's Party, and we were acknowledged by ZEC with such a name. But what we didn't know was that there was also another party with the same name, which was acknowledged by ZEC in the year 2013. And that party is called the Zimbabwe People's Party, GPM. It is owned by one Mr. Gadzamoyo Dewa. So we came to know that 6 months from now, when we were about to do our second anniversary, Mr. Gadzamoyo Dewa was tagging our Facebook page, saying that we are his people, we are his party. So there was confusion there. And in the spirit of fairness, we sat down and said, look, this man formed the party in 2013, and we formed in 2019. Although we had done a good search, we didn't find his name back then, but only to find it 6 months ago. And we said, look, we formed ours after his. So the fair thing to do for voters in 2023 is for us to rebrand. And we rebranded from colors and to even our party animals. There are reasons for that. We also listened to the people. When we had our first colors, we were using bright yellow and green and white. And people were saying, oh, they're not good colors. You are looking like bananas. So we changed the colors to navy blue, golden yellow, like you see me right now, and white. And we also changed the party animal to bees. Why? Because when we formed the party, there was polarization and fighting in Zimbabwe. That was back in 2019. And we were using the white dove because it's the animal of peace. Then now that polarization, it looks like those parties which were polarized are working towards zero polarization. And we said, okay, peace is being worked on. So now we can have animals, the bees, which are based on hard work. And that's our ideology.
Okay, I think that is a good explanation. I cannot take anything from that. But let us quickly go into our topic. I want to have a very, very quick discussion because I've been working since Friday, so I need to take a rest. So you saw what happened in Zambia. What is your overall view of what happened in Zambia?
What happened in Zambia is a good thing that they are following up on their democracy, which is their culture. So it's not a surprise Zambia changed presidents like clothes, you know. So it happens every year in Zambia. We have had so many presidents, from President Kenneth Kaunda to Michael Sata to Levi Mwanawasa, Chiluba, Lungu. The list is big in Zambia. So they are always doing that. They are following up on their culture of democracy. And as a party, we congratulate Mr. Achilema for winning this election.
Right. We had an incumbent president losing the election. Do the conditions that existed in Zambia before the elections exist in Zimbabwe today?
It's very, very, it's not practical. And it would be childish to compare the situation in Zimbabwe with the situation in Zambia. Zambia is a different, you compare Zambia to Ghana, and yeah, I think in Africa you compare Zambia to Ghana. You can't even compare Zambia to South Africa, because in South Africa, presidents some of their presidents have been changed by force. If you check the replacement of Thabo Mbeki, he wasn't changed by elections. Zuma himself was not changed by elections. You come to Ramaphosa, we don't know if he will reach the election date, because you can see flyers of Ramaphosa must fall are already flying in South Africa. So those are different democracies. Now, Zambia is democratic, Ghana is democratic. Zimbabwe, I can't compare it to Zambia.
Okay, but are the conditions there? The economy of Zambia was a driver in the defeat of Edgar Lungu. The youths under 30 or just under 30, there were a lot of them, more than 50% of the voters. The opposition were organized with a strong candidate, and people disoriented and unhappy with the current leadership in Zambia. Do those conditions exist in Zimbabwe?
What exists in Zambia, I talked to many Zambians at personal level, and their issue with Lungu is that he squandered his term. He did nothing. He did not fulfill any of his election promises. Point number one. Point number two, they said Hachilema is a rich man. He's not going to steal from them. They accuse Lungu of corruption. So those were the issues. And if you want to look at Zimbabwe, issues of corruption are there. They exist. But I can't really take Zambia as a template to discuss about Zimbabwe, because Zimbabwe is a totally different terrain.
Okay, is the economy in Zimbabwe in trouble?
The economy in Zimbabwe as an economy is a strong economy, but it has no good managers. It's being run by wrong people.
Okay. Are young people the majority in 2023?
They can be the majority, but that does not change the setup of Zimbabwe. When I'm talking about Zimbabwe, I'm not talking about from 1980 to today, 41 years. I'm talking about Zimbabwe from 131 years ago, from 1890, or from even 160 years ago, from 1840 to today. What has been happening in Zimbabwe? How has power been transferred in Zimbabwe from 1840 up to today? If I can run down that with you, you will see that what is happening in Zambia has no connection at all with what happens down south in Zimbabwe.
Okay. So the economy is not working. The youths are going to be the majority of the voters in 2023. That takes us to the strong opposition leader. Do we have a strong opposition leader that can threaten the incumbent president?
At the moment, I can talk about Mr. Stephen Mutambua, the president of Zimbabwe People's Action Party. He is strong enough to take over leadership from Mr. Mnangagwa.
Okay, what about, let's look at the bigger political parties. Let's start with the biggest opposition party in Zimbabwe. Douglas Monzora, is he a strong candidate?
In himself as a person, Douglas Monzora is an academic, he's a constitutional lawyer, he has taught all the people in MDC how law should be applied and how constitutionalism should be applied. But do the MDC followers like him? That's another issue for another day, and that's for them to know. But he is not in good standing. He doesn't have the support of people from the MDC, the voters. So you will not stand a chance against Mr. Mnangagwa.
Okay, Nelson Chamisa. Is he a strong candidate?
Nelson,
can he threaten the current president?
I would want to compare him to his predecessor, Mr. Morgan Tsvangirai. I think Morgan Tsvangirai was more forceful on the political terrain, and he gave Mugabe a rough time. It looks like Mr. Chamisa has not given Mr. Mnangagwa a rough time. So I'm not sure if he will stand a chance, because he's not giving Mr. Mnangagwa a rough time.
Okay, I get you. And now let's go to the reaction of ZANU-PF to the Zambia election and the defeat of Edgar Lungu. There was a delay in announcing or in congratulating the new president of Zambia, sorry, Mr. Hakainde Hichilema. In fact, in Southern Africa, it seems like most of the current presidents were not happy with the change. If you look at South Africa, it was almost as if the election was not happening. Why was there reluctance on the part of ZANU-PF to magnify the election in Zambia?
ZANU-PF were friends with Edgar Lungu of PF. So the defeat of their friend, of course, it shook them, and it made them not to quickly congratulate the winner. But it came to their senses that there was a winner in Zambia, and they had a moral obligation to congratulate Mr. Hichilema, and they eventually did so.
Okay. And do you think ZANU-PF is afraid or is concerned that an opposition party right next door has won the election?
ZANU-PF, that's why we formed the Zimbabwe People's Action Party. ZANU-PF can never be concerned about what happens anywhere in the world. They can only be concerned about what happens in China, because ZANU-PF is set up like China, and it was set up using the influence of Chairman Mao Zedong, the founder of China, and the founder of the party which ruled China from 1949 up to today. The man who ruled China from 1949 up to his death in 1976. So those are the people who masterminded the formation of ZANU-PF. So for any party to challenge ZANU-PF, you have to come with the correct strategy. Look at the reaction of what George Charamba is said to have said. He said the military will not hand over power. That is not a new statement in Zimbabwean politics. We have heard that before. Mugabe said it. And Ian Smith, during the times of Rhodesia, he said it. He said there will be no black rule in Zimbabwe for 1,000 years to come. So those things, we have heard them, and those things point to you on how power should be transferred in Zimbabwe. In Zimbabwe, power is not transferred by elections. Power is transferred by other means. The military decides who should be in power. Let me tell you, in 1840, the Ndebeles arrived in Zimbabwe with a powerful army that decided where power was. You see what is happening here. Then in 1890, Cecil John Rhodes came with a powerful army of police and soldiers called the British South African Police, which took over power from the local people in Zimbabwe. We don't end there. In 1953, Sir Garfield Todd was the president or the prime minister of Rhodesia back then, who was going to give power to us, the Africans. But those in the army stopped him, and they replaced him with Sir Edgar Whitehead. In 1965, you saw Smith declaring UDI, that Smith was an army man himself. In 1979, a 15-year-old war, the second Chimurenga, gave power to Robert Mugabe. And in 2008, Robert Mugabe is said to have lost elections to Morgan Tsvangirai, but who gave him power? The short sleeves, the army. And in 2017, Mugabe himself was removed by the army. So power has never been given to anyone in Zimbabwe and Rhodesia by elections. So that's
Okay, I think we've lost Mr. Midzi at a very critical point when he was telling us something very, very interesting. So I want us to take a quick break while we try to get him back. Are you there, Mr. Midzi?
yes.
Are you there, Mr. Midzi? Yes, please continue. You were telling us about power has never been transferred in Zimbabwe through elections.
Yes, like I described how power was handed over in Zimbabwe from 1840, the arrival of the Ndebeles. They took power by force as an army. And the British came and took power from the Ndebeles and the local Shonas, Vendas, whatever, people in Zimbabwe with an army. In 1965, Ian Smith used an army to declare UDI. It was all force. The second Chimurenga army was used to fight and give power to Robert Mugabe. 2008, Mugabe lost and the army was used through the short sleeves to give him power. 2017, he was removed by the army. So we have never had a situation where elections are used to hand over power to anyone in Zimbabwe, like we see in Zambia. So any serious political party which should challenge ZANU-PF should know that history, that culture, and those dynamics. We can't compare ourselves to Zambia.
Okay, I get you, and this is very, very clear. Let us now go into Nelson Chamisa's shoes. If you were Chamisa right now, and you got 2.1 million votes in 2018, and you anticipate that you'll get more votes than Idim Nangagwa in 2023, what would you do, knowing what you just said now, that power doesn't transfer that way in Zimbabwe?
You can get any number of votes, but when we have a situation like the Communist part of China being so close and so linked in ideology to ZANU-PF, then you have to think otherwise. If I was Nelson Chamisa, this is what I would have done. Nelson Chamisa's part, the MDC, controlled the cities, and it's people in the cities who had more education than those in the rural areas. What does that mean? That means it's the youth in the cities who are in the army and the police. Nelson Chamisa and his political party, or Morgan Tsvangirai, as they were being infiltrated by ZANU-PF, they should also have infiltrated ZANU-PF through their youth in the cities who are in the army. So if ZANU-PF could infiltrate them, why did they fail to infiltrate ZANU-PF when they have all their youth in the cities? So that's where they need to calculate and see how best to counteract the infiltration that has killed them to this end.
Is that not the problem? That the MDC alliance and the MDCT is not a strong party, it's not a part of strategy?
What I can say is it's not an ideological issue, but it's a structural issue. When MDC was formed, they forgot that they were going to face a liberation political party, which has the history of war like ZANU-PF and thuggish behavior. So they forgot that, and they concentrated on the use of money to drum up support and these other, I call them cosmetic issues like Mugabe must go, Zuma must fall, you know, those cosmetic issues. But the issue of power in Zimbabwe is deeper than just an election. It's more complex than just we are hungry, because Zimbabweans have been hungry for a long time. They were hungry for 90 years under the Rhodesian government, but nothing happened. So we can't use cosmetics. Let's go to where what exchanges power is what we should, the strategy we should all focus on.
Okay. What about the uncompromising position that has been taken by Chamisa? Is that not a problem? Shouldn't he adopt the same approach as Douglas Ngonzora, for example, which is to negotiate with ZANU-PF, to cooperate with ZANU-PF, and to work together instead of working against each other? Sorry, I think I'm losing you
what
there.
What Ngonzora is doing does not aid. Maybe I'm losing you. What Ngonzora is doing, are we together, Mr. Kambako?
Yes.
What Ngonzora is doing does not add value to him at all. Ndabaningi Stole and Abel Mzorewa did it in 1979 or 1978 when they went into kind of a pollard with Ian Smith. They were swallowed. They came out useless and powerless. So whenever you come close to ZANU-PF, don't expect miracles. You come out powerless. MDC joined ZANU-PF in a GNU and they came out divided and powerless. It's after GNU that you started to see the PDPs, the Zimfesties, and all these other many MDC factions. So when you are going into any, or you are going close to ZANU-PF, you have to be very careful. You have to have a strategy in place, a strong strategy, which most people, most political parties have failed to craft when they face ZANU-PF.
Okay, so take me back where you were. You were saying Chamisa was supposed to have infiltrated ZANU-PF. He should have changed his strategy. Yeah. Now that it hasn't happened, Chamisa hasn't infiltrated ZANU-PF, and clearly they don't even have the support because their party has been decimated in the past few months. Let's say the past 2 years. In fact, Chamisa and his party, they are no longer a party. If there's an election now, Chamisa could get more than MDC, more votes than MDC. What would you do besides infiltrating ZANU-PF? Because you said negotiating with them doesn't work.
PF, they are always in the election mode from day one up to the last day of their 5-year term. Like I said, Mr. Chamisa is 2023. Let's be very honest to ourselves as Zimbabweans. We can always have heart attacks in 2023. There is nothing that is going to happen there for the MDC because they are being destroyed every day, and they are even going to their youth, like those issues of Rocky, those issues of, you see, ZANU-PF are taking those influential youth we have support in the ghetto and all that stuff, while they are busy insulting those youths. They have to come up with a strategy. But anyway, in this case, like I said, I don't see any future in the MDC, given the ways that ZANU-PF has decimated them.
Okay, so nothing is going to happen in 2023. What about 2028?
Anything can happen depending on the strategy that a political party takes. Like I told you, the Zimbabwe People's Action Party, we have a very strong strategy that puts us at an added advantage to be able to deal with this situation. But anyone else who formed their party before the year 2013, I can as well forget, because the way they formed their parties without taking into account that ZANU-PF is a thuggish party, it infiltrates and all that stuff, to bring that as an afterthought, it doesn't work. So Zimbabweans have got to know that 2023, 2028, we need to shift our paradigm. We need to change who we trust with our votes.
Okay, I think I want to go to some of the comments here. And I tend to feel that when someone like you is talking, people in the MDC, they don't listen. Do you ever have that feeling that the MDC, especially the MDC Chamisa, they don't listen to anyone? Have you ever had that feeling?
We have been in politics as a political party from 2019, and we have been in politics even before that as voters ourselves. What I can see is, people had faith in the MDC, and they are so disturbed, they are so bitter. It's their right to be bitter, but there is always that time to move on. It's like if you are so tied up to your husband or your wife and there's a separation, you become a bitter person. But there is that day that you shall think of moving on. And I know there's the supporters of MDCT and Mr. Chamisa will soon start to move on. And many of them are moving on. Because you can't have heart attacks every day because of a party which is not being well managed, which can't even obey its own constitution. So those things, we should be honest with ourselves as Zimbabweans, that when you can't obey your constitution, when you cannot manage a political party correctly, don't expect to win anything or to be able to run a country correctly.
Okay, now let's conclude. The utterances by George Charamba, should they be punished? Is he talking for Idi Mnangagwa, or is he talking for himself? Should he be allowed to continue talking this way?
George Charamba belongs to ZANU-PF. Like I said, ZANU-PF is like the communist part of China. Those people, they believe in their ideology. They have something that they are holding on to, which they say, with this weapon, power will never go. So he can say anything, and he is saying that on behalf of ZANU-PF and on behalf of Idi Mnangagwa. That's why I said our political party is aware of his utterances. We cannot hold him accountable to those utterances because we have heard them countless of times before. Mugabe used to say that as well, and Tsvangirai never came to power. So that's who ZANU-PF is. That's the ZANU-PF we know, and we are drafting a strong strategy to ensure that such utterances do not come to fruition.
Okay, you have left me in a position where I can't tell whether I should go left or right. If I was in the MDC, all I would do is stand in one place.
Like I said, it's not going to be easy to just take all the supporters of MDC because they still believe their party is coming. They cannot see that their parties, their house has crumbled to, beyond recovery. So they shall see that they will come another year, but not for 2023. They are still stuck there.
Okay. But if you were ZANU-PF, right, what if you were to be hit by a surprise? The numbers of votes for the opposition become so much that you can't do anything about it.
Like I said, power in Zimbabwe is decided by the military, 1840 up to today. So the issue of numbers of votes does not matter to a party like ZANU-PF or a party like Communist Party of China. Those two parties are buddies. So when they say that, they are just simply telling you that you can go to, even Mugabe said, a paper called a vote cannot change a government or a president. That's who they are. And that's what they do.
Okay, very interesting.
Without a change in strategy,
analysis.
I've heard people saying register to.
Okay, I think we're having an issue with our network, and I think let's wrap it up at this point, Mr. Midzi. We've talked for a long time, 30 minutes, and what we should do is next week, let's try to do this again. Let's go into this discussion, because I feel that most MDC alliance people don't understand that there is a strategy needed to win, and they keep shouting a slogan, whereas we're trying to help them. They think we hate them when we tell them that there is a strategy that is needed, and also that they are going up against a very organized, well-oiled election-winning machine called ZANU-PF. Is there anything else you want to say before we close?
What I would want to say is to all the political parties in Zimbabwe out there, let's not sell cosmetic information which does not help. Let's know which country to compare with our country. Then we can be able to create a good strategy. And for the political party supporters, let's be dynamic. Let's not be static in one house, which is not giving us results. But still, as Zimbabweans, let's follow that path, like the Zimbabwe People's Action Party, which is a strong strategy in place to ensure that the change they want comes. This change will not come from just a hashtag of saying register to vote. How do you know that the people who are registering to vote are not going to vote?
Uyo uko kuno apo pano mamuona kere nai.
Right, I think we have unfortunately lost our guest, Mr. Jason Midzi, and he was telling us something very, very interesting, and I would have wanted him to continue. Unfortunately, he's gone and his devices don't seem to be working. So what I would do is, I was hoping that we'll get another person here from his party to join, and then we could continue, but this is not going to happen. So let us just end this here at this point. I've had a long week, starting with the Zambian elections. So we'll continue again after Saturday, and then we'll take it from there. We are entering a very interesting period where anything could happen. And I would want to bring more people to talk about this. And I feel that the MDC Alliance is totally underestimating the trouble that they're in currently because of the election is so close. If you look at Zambia, they were campaigning last year in 2020 already. And the MDC Alliance doesn't even have a members register as we speak. If you go to the MDC Alliance and say, who are your members right now? They do not have that register. They do not have a leadership structure. They do not have people on the ground, and they want to win an election. So the people that I bring you here, they are very serious people. Mr. Midzi is living in Australia. He's been living there for a very long time. We have serious politicians coming here saying the MDC Alliance is not ready. and I do not see a change in their approach. They're approaching this the same way they've been approaching it over and over, and losing, and then complaining after they lose. So let me end this discussion here, and I hope that you enjoy the weekend. And I'm very sorry that our guests ended up leaving before we could finish. Thank you very much, and good night.
Mamu wanna get it, mamu wanna get